Monday and Tuesday, Max began with keynote speakers. Here we see Chief Executive Officer of Adobe, Shantanu Narayan. My favorite part of Max were the labs. I took Photoshop and Illustrator. Here's the art wall. Do you see me? Check out Project 1324 for Adobe's challenges and chances to win, all for kids ages 13 to 24.
We believe that everyone has a story to tell. And so our goal at Adobe is to empower everyone to tell their story and to nurture this creativity that exists within all of us. Welcome to Max.
What would you like to do?
Recommend some new podcasts for me.
Wireframe is a podcast about interaction design. Would you like to subscribe?
Now, this is not a Photoshop-like application made for the iPad. This is real Photoshop on the iPad.
In Rush, we make color really accessible and intuitive. I can tap on a preset and give this clip its own look and feel.
Thanks, Scott. I'm super excited to be here to show you some of my favorite new features and, more importantly, updates in Photoshop CC and something else a little bit later. So, how many of you use Photoshop? Awesome. All right, let's get started with some updates that you've been asking for years. First of all, I'm in a Photoshop document and I want to edit text. Well, you know, go to the Type tool, click in the wrong place. Now you're adding text instead of editing. Well, now, just like InDesign and Illustrator, I can double-click to edit text. More importantly, once I'm done, I don't have to know how to click a commit button, find the right key on the keyboard. I just click away to auto-commit. Next up, I want to go in now and change the color. Well, now we have the brand new color wheel, among all the other ways of changing color, but you'll find this color wheel works in color harmony, and you'll see it throughout the day, especially in the mobile section. So I can click a range of color that I want to work with, click away, nah, that's not it. How about something in the fuchsia category, like matching my shirt? Nah, that's not it. How about something maybe in the reds, or you've been here before, right? You won't know it till you see it. But then you make that change, and then you kind of like, well, maybe I liked it the way it was in the beginning. No longer do you have to know the secret keyboard shortcut, because today, Command-Z, 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 Command-Z. Something you've been asking for years. All right, so with that said, last thing I want to do, I want to free transform this, and I know what you're thinking. He's about to reach for the Shift key because that made sense 2 decades ago. No, it didn't. I no longer have to hold down the Shift key because scale proportionally is on by default. And those are just a few of the many updates that you've been asking for. Double-click to edit text, click away to auto-commit, Command-Z, 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 and of course, free transform proportional by default. I'm going to switch over to my next image where I'd love to do a modern-day double exposure effect. I've got the bear, I've got the forest, you see where this is going. Now, in order to do this, I need to cut the bear out. So I would traditionally reach over for my quick select tool. I would start making that selection and start dragging, you get the idea. We're not going to do that anymore because we have the brand new Adobe Sensei-powered Select Subject. So with one click, Photoshop will figure out what the subject is and make that selection for me. All right. Now, I need to turn that into a mask, which is the very next button, Select and Mask. When I click on Select and Mask, I can see that well, there's a little bit of background left in the fur, so I'm going to use the new Surface Pen on the brand new Surface Studio, Microsoft Surface Studio here. And we're just going to go ahead and just paint that right out with the Refine Edge tool built right in. All right, once I get that beautiful mask, I'll just go ahead and click away, click OK. It will make the mask for me. I will then use that beautiful mask on the background. I'll just drag it down, and you're thinking, okay, well, how am I going to see the forest? Well, traditionally, you'd use a blend mode, but you'd either have to know which one you want or go through them one by one to see which one looks best, clicking each time. Well, I'm happy today to introduce live blend modes now in Photoshop. So I just click, I hover over the ones until I find the one I want, and I'm done. Adobe Sensei powered select subject, new and improved select and mask, and more importantly, live blend modes. Now, for my graphic designers in the audience, you've been here before where you want to lay out multiple images on the canvas. We want to fill in that last image up at the top. I'm going to go ahead and drag it over from my CC library. When I drag it over, no problem, scale it down. Sweet. All right, once I get it down, I would still have to figure out how to select it and mask it and get it just right. So I'm not going to do any of that, because instead, I'm going to use the brand new frame tool here in Photoshop CC. I'll just go ahead and drag my frame out. My InDesign users just clapped. I'm going to drag my frame out, and I'm just going to drag this image in, and it will do two things for me. It will perfectly size the image down, and it will automatically mask off any excess image. I still have access to the whole image, though. So if I want to free transform it, I can, scaling it within the frame and moving it around in the frame without having to know how to mask it perfectly. Now, if you're thinking that frames are limited to just rectangles, you couldn't be further from the truth, because here's text that I converted into a frame with just a right click. Here's an elliptical frame done with the frame tool. And more importantly, here's a vector frame from a guitar that I got from Adobe Stock. And I just right-click, convert it into a frame, and I drag over my Adobe Stock image right into it, and beautiful masks are easy now in Photoshop. Now, in this case, I've got multiple artboards. Artboards is an amazing feature inside of Photoshop and Illustrator. And in this case, I would love to visualize my design in the 3D space. Now, Photoshop's had 3D for years, but it's a bad word if you don't know what 3D is or if you don't know how to work in 3D. So a year ago, we introduced a brand new tool called Adobe Dimension. And Adobe Dimension allows you to pre-visualize or visualization of your branding in a photorealistic environment easily. And that's the key. So let's switch over to Adobe Dimension. And here's Adobe Dimension. I've got this backpack, magazine, this travel adventure scene set up, ready to go. And I'm going to go to my operating system here, grab that exact same PSD, and drag it in. So there it is, dragging it in. And when I get there, you'll notice the logo from the first artboard comes in. We'll scale it down, and it's already matching and mapping to that. Wait, you don't believe me? Look at that. It's matching and mapping to that backpack automatically. Imagine having to do that in Photoshop and warping it and trying to get it in the right space. I just did it by dragging and dropping. Now, once I'm here, I want to also change the materials here. And when I double click on this, I keep double clicking. There we go. When I double click on the backpack, I'm going to use another new feature, which is multiple layered materials. So I just switch the material, multiple layers, and now my logo doesn't look good. So, well, wait a minute. I remember I have multiple artboards. I can now access those artboards right in Adobe Dimension. Switch to one that looks better, and away I go. Now, if you're thinking, well, how do I really see that? New in Adobe Dimension, the ability to bookmark your camera views. So if there's a view that you really like, just switch to it. This isn't even rendered yet, and it looks cool. All right, now, my favorite new feature in Adobe Dimension is this is great for me working on my desktop, but what if I need to share this with all of you or share it with my client? How will they really experience this? Well, new in Adobe Dimension, the ability to publish a 3D scene to the web, create a link, all set. Once I click that, I'm not going to wait for it to render, but we're going to just pop over to the browser where I've got this all set and ready to go, and here it is in the browser for the client to work with it. I don't know, I'm just strange. I like looking at the bottom. But anyway, there it is. And not only does my client get to move it around, but they get the same bookmarks. They get to jump to exactly what they want to see.
Max had some amazing speakers. You would know Jessica Hish's work. She's amazing. Check out Justin Seeley from edupixel.com, and he has a free course right now on the latest Photoshop updates. Check out Jason Hop's awesome tutorials at jasonhop.com. A few of you may know these two. Nicola Scott from Australia talked all about how she became a comic book artist. Albert Watson is a famous photographer who did work for Prince, Mick Jagger, and Winston Churchill, among many others.
He remembers my saying that I wanted to be a director a long time ago. He says that my pat answer to what do you want to do when you grow up always was, I want to be an actor, writer, producer, director, cameraman, baseball player. Pimps? Are you saying we should become pimps?
What do you need? Stupid text. This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem. And the Oscar goes to A Beautiful Mind, Brian Grazer, Ron Howard produces.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Academy Award-winning director, Ron Howard. Yay, it's Ron Howard! Yay!
Hello?
It's very exciting. All right, I already got over my excitement because I already met him. So we just celebrated the work of young creators and talked about the importance of mentorship. You obviously started your career very early. And I think we're going to pull up a picture of you from Happy Days that was actually shot by Albert Watson, who was just out here. And they just had a little kind of get-together, having not seen each other in 400 years.
Yeah.
And so...
Well, he also shot the poster for Da Vinci Code, so that wasn't so long ago, yes.
Okay, so it's a small world. So maybe tell us a little bit about how you got your start, your early years, and then maybe if any mentors played a big role in your career.
My father was the primary mentor, and of course, along the way, there were many others that were incredibly, inspiring. But the story of my mom and dad is a sort of its own kind of immigrant story. They came out of the Depression era, Midwest, Oklahoma and Kansas. Somehow, they both had this dream of show business without having any connections whatsoever. They met at Oklahoma University and ran away with a children's theater troupe, and I'm sure it just terrified their parents because they got married at 19 out there on the road, and they followed this remarkable dream. And my father, who passed away last year at 89, worked up until about a day or so